All right, first MMA podcast, really podcast
Like 2
period.
years. 2 years probably, right?
Yeah.
About 2 years.
Yeah, probably 2 years. So this is part of the old MMA Fools crew.
Yeah.
The two best ones.
Hey. No slander on this podcast. Dave is noticeably like 50 pounds lighter than he used to be on the podcast. So
Yeah.
he started training. He's in Bellator now. So he's in the welterweight division in Bellator.
Which is funny because we'll probably almost never talk about Bellator.
Yeah. Let's laugh at it.
Yeah.
Small comments about Bellator.
We did talk about it briefly beforehand. And it was basically like, you might know who's the main person on the card,
right.
And then after that, you're like, I don't know who any of these people are.
And I mean, I feel like it's fine to have promotions like that because there's
competition.
And there's feeder promotions that go into the UFC. There's people that you look out for, but actually Bellator does a great job at signing like young wrestlers. Like whenever they picked up Aaron Pico, back whenever he came out of high school and started training, they picked them up pretty fast, 0-0. They do a lot better in terms of signing like grinding wrestlers that are really good.
Yeah. And
the UFC doesn't do that as much as they used to. I feel like that they don't value that sort of like. Of course, we'll get to Bo Nickel later, but there's certain prospects that the UFC miss that Bellator does get. That's pretty cool, but
Yeah, but I mean, most of the stars end up there in the UFC and then maybe go to Bellator later.
Yeah. And
the stars that Bellator does get, those guys seem to not be able to wait to get to the UFC.
Yeah, like AJ McKee is great. He's a great featherweight, and I'd like to see him in the UFC eventually. But I think he just signed another contract with Bellator. So you have to sort of come to the UFC to prove yourself to be one of the best in the world in that way, as the competition is just so much better. So
Right. Yeah.
It's a Bellator podcast now, by the way.
Yeah, right. That's probably the most we've ever talked about Bellator.
Yeah. Bait and switch into a Bellator podcast. That's the new rebranding, right?
Yeah. I was just going to say we have rebranded a little bit. The Fools concept kind of lost its luster to me. And since it's been like 2 years, hey, why not just switch things up? So
yeah.
I think Kyle is going to join us sometimes. And then every other week we will have two kids behind the computer. Right now I'm running everything because they can't do they can only do every other Sunday. And actually there's a buzzing that I got to take care of.
But I don't think we'll explain the absence and what we've been doing. I feel like it's easier just to be vague. Yeah, we've been gone for 2 years, living life, right. Jobs and family, and
honestly, the biggest thing for me was I did switch jobs.
Yeah.
My last job, I just didn't have time, man, and that sucked. So
and the payoff for like the pay versus the time spent and energy spent probably wasn't worth it for you at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I did have extra time really, and I wasn't making anybody off the podcast. I was doing a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get back to doing a bunch of podcasts, though. I think cause I
still
need
labor
to do
of
with
love.
My time now.
Yeah, still labor of love for you, right?
Right,
Yeah.
missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But
just the sound of your own voice, right, Dave?
Yeah, I like to hear myself talk.
Right, and this is the best way to do it.
I'm good at it.
You're very good at it. It was wasted. Yeah. I think you've gotten better. Your diction and your speech has gotten a lot better.
Oh,
so.
Good. All right. Well, I suppose we should talk about the UFC, huh? We just had UFC what? What UFC was it?
280. Not a good look for the podcast. What UFC is this?
Right. But I'm not gonna lie. I'm serious about it.
I think the numbers blend together.
I just don't necessarily care about the numbers.
Yeah.
But
do you remember when they used to like name the UFC at pay-per-views like Bad Blood? Do you remember back in the day it was like that?
Yeah, and that might have been more memorable.
Yeah.
But corny.
Yeah. I'm not asking another gray man, did you see Bad Blood? Right. Last night or whatever.
But so it was UFC 285. Obviously, the headline fight was John Jones versus Cyril Gane. John Jones' first fight at heavyweight for the vacant belt because our boy Francis left. So
yeah, he's going to go box Wilder or Fury.
What are the two?
Or kill somebody in bare knuckle boxing. Which is fun. Which is fine.
That might actually end up being
him versus Rockhold in bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, that might actually be the route he has to go.
Right.
But we might talk about that if we get through everything else here. So, we're going to start with the early prelims because we both started at the same time watching the fights.
Right.
And these were actually some good fights.
Yeah.
So the first one we're going to talk about is Mana Martinez versus Cameron
Simon.
It's Simon. Simon.
Yeah.
And these guys are both young. I think Mana's 26, but Simon is 22.
Yeah.
And he looked fantastic.
He did, yeah. And I feel like the speed difference was very noticeable during the fight. Cameron was just a little faster in the pocket, and a little bit more varied in his attacks. I feel like a lot of the leg kicks and sort of different level changes in terms of like strikes.
Right. He seemed very well rounded in general. His biggest issue, apparently in his last fight too, is he gets a lot of penalties.
Yeah,
he gets points taken away.
He's a bad boy.
And then he swears he's not to everybody.
Yeah,
he's like telling the people out the cage side, like, I'm not a dirty fighter. It does seem like it's very much on accident.
Yeah,
but in 2 fights in a row, he's gotten points deducted.
Yeah, and
still won decisions. By the way, didn't he decision this one?
Yeah, but it was pretty. Towards the end, it was kind of like
it was like
a beating. Yeah. And he's like what, 8-0 now, right? Is he 8-0?
I'm actually not sure about that. Let's see if I can find the cursor.
Yeah, I think he's like 7 or 8-0. So I feel like being 22, 7-0. Yeah. So like being that young in the bantamweight division, which is like probably the most stacked division in the UFC, I imagine. Like the bantamweight's, it's an excellent division.
Yeah.
A slow rise is probably good for him. I feel like a top 20 guy next would be pretty okay.
Yeah. He's just somebody exciting to watch out for. He's not somebody that you're going to be seeing headline a main card anytime soon, as he won't even be on a main card.
Yeah. And he's a pretty good action fighter too. He's not boring. Seems like he has pretty good power, good striking. So
yeah.
Someone to bring him along further and give him a test, maybe like someone like a wrestler, someone who's a good wrestler that's ranked around where he'd be in the bantamweight division would be a good test, because I feel like Mana is a pretty good striker, striking test, but I feel like just more cage experience would be good for him being 7-0.
Yeah, for sure. This is the fight that I got like overly excited about.
Right.
This Ian Machado Gary versus Song Keenan. And Ian Machado Gary won by KO TKO in the 5th, right? Or the 3rd?
Third, yeah.
The 3rd. And he's impressive, man.
Yeah. He looks a lot better. Like this fight, because I remember watching him fight his last fight too. And he looked good, but this is a more dynamic performance in terms of like his power and his strikes. I feel like his last fight, he kind of cruised a lot more. And this is a lot more fire.
Yeah, and he definitely, he got tested briefly in the first round. He went in first strike, got countered with a left hook.
Right.
And, he was out on his feet.
Yeah.
He collapsed and then woke up and then still had to recover, still took some good shots. It was possible that he was going towards being stopped.
Right.
My favorite thing, though, about him, I don't know if it's my favorite thing, but one of the things I really liked was in between those 2 rounds, 1 and 2, what he said. He said, I felt really good. What happened? I just got caught when I was going in. And the coach said, yeah, that's all that happened. He said, okay, that's my fault.
Yeah.
And then that was never really a thing again.
Right. To be able to adjust sort of your entries and not get caught again and be able to control that distance better after you get caught is a good sign for somebody who's coming up like that.
And to be that aware in between rounds.
Right.
So
yeah, I even noticed like whenever he got dropped and came back too, that his ability to battle back into the fight quickly was pretty evident. He was already getting up and starting to throw shots again, so there wasn't a hesitancy to gain control of the fight again after being dropped, which is good too.
Right, he had no fear.
Right,
and when he came out in the second, he just came out ready to go.
Yeah.
His technique is clean and crisp.
Right. Very too, just like I mentioned about Cameron. His front kicks to the knee, like to keep the distance and to sort of dissuade Song Kanan from coming in, was pretty nice.
Yeah, well, and it was crazy because nothing he threw looked that impactful, but by the time the fight was over, it looked like Song had got a sunburn in the cage. Like his leg was red, his body was red, his face was swollen, beat up.
Yeah, it was bad.
And then in the 3rd, it just seemed to me like everything looked just as clean, just as crisp, but it just had more fire on.
He turned it on, yeah.
Like he just started like really putting on the power. Really, he just added power to it.
And I feel like performances like this does a lot more for fighters than like a quick first round knockout, which is always nice to see.
Right.
But a 3-round pace that he sets, and then he pushes down on the gas pedal when he needs to.
Yeah.
Says a lot more about a fighter than fast knockouts.
Yeah, because there were no lulls. He pushed the pace the entire time. I mean,
very active. Yeah.
Yeah. Song had nothing for him really, and it was just a domination for 3 rounds outside of that at the end of the first round knockdown.
Yeah.
He's
up 4-0 in the UFC now. I think so.
I think so, and he's also good on the mic.
Yeah,
and he's a UFC mark. So, like what he said what he said after the fight in his post-fight talk with Joe was basically like, "I love the UFC. The UFC is amazing." He started shouting out the cards coming up and how great they are. And, so, if Dana has anything to do with it, I'm sure he's going to be a star.
Right. But when he's 35, he'll be complaining about fighter pay. So that's how it goes.
Right.
Right now he loves it. But
right now he loves it. Fighter pay might be something we get into as well. But
he needs a bigger step up now. I feel like
he needs a decent step up.
Yeah.
I do like that he's not outrageous with his claims either. He said in the next 2 years he'll be fighting for a championship,
which is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. Next 2 years you're fighting on the early prelim. You look great. So we do have to see what you do against better competition though.
And I feel like he could probably get to the point where like on a fight night card he could be on like a co-main. Yeah. Just based on like the notoriety and placement on this card. Like it wasn't a big placement, but this is a pretty big card, and they seem like he shined a lot in his post-fight interview and his performance.
Yeah,
so like he could come in, maybe somebody like Santiago Ponzinibbio. That'd be a great fight.
Anybody who saw this fight is going to be excited to watch him fight.
Right.
So if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's one of the better performances of the night in terms of like prospects rising up and putting on a clinic. So.
Yeah, and entertainment. I mean, it was entertaining.
Right.
Then we get into the regular prelims, and you had Julian Marquez versus Marc-Andre Barriault.
Yeah, the L might be silent, but yeah, I think
Barriault.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
We've always been bad with the names.
Yeah, it's pretty dire.
Yeah, we should like Google these beforehand or something.
Just have somebody officially say his name somewhere.
Well, what's crazy is we watched the fight, so we heard his name.
Just didn't register it.
Yeah, which is also crazy because so Marc-Andre did win the fight in the second round by TKO KO, and it was one of the craziest onslaughts I think I've ever seen.
It was like a 2-minute just like brutal assault.
Right. It was nonstop punches, elbows. I wouldn't have been surprised if he had headbutted him. I mean, it was literally nonstop for like two.
Against the cage too.
Right. Yeah. I think it was actually like literally a minute, like 30.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. And he didn't slow down the punches. He didn't stop. He didn't like.
Go to his record real fast. So I wonder. Like, I don't know much about him, to be honest. I mean, I saw him this fight. He looks like the Sandman from Spider-Man 3. His face looks like he does look like him a lot.
That's true. That is true.
I like that. I don't like that movie, but I like that he looks like that.
So he's 14-6. So
I mean, that's an okay record. It depends on the losses too.
Right. It depends on who his losses were too. It's not an amazing.
Go down. Do they have his last few fights on there? I'm trying to see where he was fighting at.
But regardless, he's obviously an entertaining fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see here.
This is there's okay. He lost by submission to Anthony Fluffy Hernandez.
Fluffy? Is that his name?
Yeah. He beat Jordan Wright, who's that big toddler-looking guy. Look at him. Does he not look like a big toddler?
He does look like a big toddler.
Yeah.
Like he didn't even comb his hair for that. He's just got this one piece of hair.
Second grade picture.
Right.
The shirt off, though. Yeah. Okay. So, okay.
Yeah, it's
kind of a 50-50 fight. It looks like he probably just like fun action fighter. Middleweight is a weird division, so it's hard to tell how good anyone is besides like
the top 5.
Robert Whittaker,
and like top 3 or 4, really, maybe. Yeah.
Even Pereira has like huge question marks about his like overall fight game.
Massive.
But that's a different preview, I guess. But,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like he's a fun fighter. I'll watch him fight. I'll watch him fight any other random middleweight.
Right. Yeah. I after seeing that, if he's on the prelims again, I'll be excited for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or if it's a fight night card and he's one of the fights, like, okay, cool.
Right. We'll do the matchups after talking about the fights, right? We've done that historically, where we talk about the fights, go through it, then we match people up later, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if we'll do that for like this guy.
Okay.
You know, like what are we gonna say? He's gonna fight some other.
He wants us to do it for
middleweight.
Yeah. Just some
yeah. So that guy, we'll just go ahead and take care of that now. He's gonna fight another middleweight.
Yeah. And he will either win or lose.
Right. It'll probably be exciting. It'll probably be a finish. I'll say that.
I mean, good for him. He showed out.
So. Yeah, he did. Showed out on a big card.
Right.
So it was a big stage.
I barely paid attention to this fight, to be honest.
I actually did pay attention to this fight. I watched the prelims pretty good. By the time I got to Brian's and for the main card, there was more people there than usual, so that's where it got hard. I had to watch some of the fights today.
Yeah.
But
what do you think of this fight? I think I did dishes during this fight. Like I think I was in and out of the room. I had dishes to do.
I'm a weird guy, so like I think I showered during this fight, but I had the phone sitting up in the shower so that I could still watch the fight.
During a women's fight, right? So understood. Okay.
Damn it. Didn't even think about that. I did not watch this fight in the shower.
Yeah. I guess it's better than Barrios versus in the shower as well. Right, pick your poison in terms of watching MMA fights in the shower. It's all going to be weird, right?
Maybe I just won't do that anymore.
Yeah. You got to watch something neutral, nothing like either homoerotic
maybe just listen to some music.
Yeah.
All right, but it was Vivian Arulo, who was actually ranked, I think, and then Amanda Ribas, who is just a fan favorite just because of her personality, really.
Yeah.
So when the fight started, it definitely looked like Vivian was the better striker. Amanda did not look comfortable.
She slowed down a lot, didn't she, Vivian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big part of that, I think, is because she got caught. But I should say she won by decision. For some reason I thought she ended up submitting her, but Amanda Ribas won by decision, and at first Amanda Ribas, she didn't look comfortable. Her legs were like really far apart in her stance.
Yeah.
Her chin was high. She just didn't look comfortable. But then all of a sudden Vivian slowed down either before or after. Amanda landed a big punch, and then Amanda just really kind of took over the fight after that. Her ground game looked pretty damn good.
She's ranked now. Ribas is ranked, I believe. I think she is ranked.
Yeah. So it was an entertaining fight. Amanda Ribas is going to be a fan favorite because she's got that bubbly ass personality.
Yeah.
And you know what? We need new blood in women's division all the time. So I would say pay attention to Amanda Ribas. I don't know if I would pay much attention to Vivian just because, I mean, she slowed down a lot after the first round, I think I would say.
Yeah. And it's hard to, and like, not to make it nationalistic, but like random Brazilian like straw weights, and so it's just like, how many can you really? It's like how many can you know? Just like the same way, it's like unranked Brazilian featherweight and like random white men too. It's like how many can you know? Yeah, well, really, it's like there's not a lot of space for me personally. I'm like,
yeah, you can only remember so many names and things.
Yeah.
But, and it's also harder to pay too much attention a lot of times in the women's division. It's because it seems like the top echelon in the women's divisions are the top echelon.
Right. And the breakthrough is hard.
It's really hard. Yeah. They just seem like they seem to be a tier above.
Or like it's like they alternate
or you
with
have
the
like
losses
Lauren Murphy in there for some reason, and you're like, what is she doing here?
Yeah. She's doing her best, right?
Oh my gosh.
Well, that fight against...
As Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen keep doing on their show, like, but did you have fun?
Yeah. I mean, she looks like she's having less and less fun every fight.
Man.
Yeah.
She really looks like she gets worse every fight.
Yeah.
Like that last one, I forget who she fought, but she was a bloody...
She fought, the one who just got beat by, she just got beat by... Oh, shit, I'm blanking on names. She's the one that fought for title Brazilian that goes between 125 and 115.
Jessica Andrade.
Yeah, she just lost her and got beat up real bad.
That's right, beat up real bad. Yeah. Only thing I could say about that fight is that, like, hey, you're really tough.
Yeah,
like she's like you can take a lot of damage.
Right,
Lauren Murphy.
She'd be easily the toughest woman at King's Family Restaurant serving on midnight shift. So easily, it's a very good skill to have on that shift.
Right,
back in the day.
You should say that you're not really talking shit on her for that because you used to do that, right?
I was a midnight server at King's Family Restaurant, so I never experienced. She would be tougher than me by far.
Right? Yeah. when we say like she looks worse and worse every fight, there's a really good chance she'd probably beat us both up.
Yeah, at the same time.
Right.
And she could definitely handle 15 top of theater kids or scared house kids coming through at 1 a.m. So. Right.
Oh, Lauren Murphy, we'll leave you alone now.
Yeah. She's been a punching bag for us a lot, and I feel bad for it. So.
I feel kind of. It's just because it's crazy. She's always ranked in the top 5, and she fights anybody in the top 5,
and
she
she's not
destroyed.
Bad, and like she's not the worst fighter on the roster. Like it's not like I see her and like it's like she's a jack of all trades type of fighter where it's like what's she really great at?
Yeah,
grinding. It's like making it a grindy fight.
Taking punches.
Yeah.
She's really good at that.
Until she Homer Simpsons the other person. Yeah. They get tired.
So the next fight on the card was Derek Brunson versus
Dricus du Plessis. What a great name, by the way, right?
Right. And I think everybody, including everybody in the UFC forever, just called him Duplessis. Yeah. And I think he even talked about it last night that you guys finally got my name right.
Yeah.
So we remembered his name.
Yeah. So I just like his name a lot. Yeah. I think I've talked about it to people how good his name is. Like not even on a podcast, just like I like his name. Yeah.
You just like talk to random people at the grocery store at Kroger's like, hey, check out this name.
Yeah, the sick name, right? And also he's a Chad. Look at him. He's just like a very Chad type of guy. Yeah. He's like the middleweight Drew Dober type of looking guy.
Right. Just like but it was him and Derek Brunson. When at the very beginning of this fight, I was like, man, Derek Brunson is just the best that could never do it, and then that quickly changed.
Yeah, his gas tank is non-existent now.
Dude, it was so bad. His corner threw in the towel, right?
Yeah,
with like a second left.
Yeah,
in the round.
Second round. I feel like Brunson came on strong. I think Duplessis even talked about it in the post-fight interview where he said that, not the in-cage one, but the later one. He said that he knew that Derek would come on strong in the first round and that he would weather that, and that during the second round, he said he would break him and take over the fight. And he said he'd still be there after the first round. So he kind of called the narrative of the fight how it would go. And that's pretty accurate, I think.
Yeah, and it's a massive win for Duplessis.
Because Derek's was like ranked number 5 still.
Right, because every time you think he's gone, then he beats somebody.
Right.
You know?
He last lost to Cannoneer, so.
Yeah. But I think it's over now, though.
He retired.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
He tweeted something about thanks for, all the fans and thanks for watching my career. So I feel like, not officially, but the tweet signified that he's done. 39 years old.
Yeah. When you have a win and when you have a fight that kind of goes that way, looks that bad, and your corner doesn't even wait for the round to end, and there's only a second left, like 2 seconds left. They throw in the towel. Like, you need to get out of there. Yeah.
And I feel like that stylistically, the matchup and the way they fight both of them is like it was always going to be a wonky fight. Like it just the striking exchanges and the grappling exchanges. It's like neither of them could get a good like sort of offensive clean moment. It was like Duplessis was landing punches, but like the way he lands punches, it was looking weird and like hitting at weird angles. So you're like, did that land or is he just super tired? And any amount of touching him would cause him to move around and
the very likely answer might be both.
Yeah, and like Duplessis, like we talked about before the podcast, he's good at everything, but he's like weird at everything. It's like his wrestling's weird, his striking's weird.
He's not fast.
Yeah, he's not, and like. He's always tired looking, but like he throws hard still.
Yeah, they said they actually talked about it during the fight because he always looks like he's gassed because he's always breathing heavy out of his mouth. Yeah, but they said that he has said in some interviews that he actually can't breathe through his nose, that he has to get surgery done.
That's cool.
So maybe that's it. To me, that still affects your gassing. Like, I think you're supposed to be able to breathe through your nose.
Yeah, full breathing Duplessis is champion next year. Yeah, breathe through nose Duplessis.
He's probably gonna be ranked between 7 and 5 now because I think he was 9, just beat 5.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna be a top 5 easily, and like I think he's still pretty young. He's like 29.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about him being a top 5 at middleweight though, because like, is he gonna beat any of those guys?
I mean, you look at the people who's there. It's like Marvin Vettori. So you're like, okay, well.
Maybe. I feel like Marvin Vettori is about to fight somebody that I think
Roman Delides at UFC in London.
Oh, yeah. I think he is going to lose to him. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah, that guy, he's the one that...
Is that how you say his name?
Delides,
I've been saying Dolides.
Yeah. That's fine. You can say that. I'll let you say that. He doesn't care either, I don't think.
Yeah, probably not. He's just like, I'm a badass. He's the one who did that crazy calf slicer.
They're like Jack Hermanson and got him on a back take.
That was the most...
And pounded the shit out of his head after he got his like back and...
I couldn't even figure out what was going on.
No.
Like, and I'm usually pretty good at calling out the submissions and all that, and I was like, I don't know what he's doing, because I've never seen a calf slicer where you're like behind the guy, and it's like he was doing a crucifixion on his legs. You know what I mean?
And it's like for Jack Ranson, it was like, this is the worst possible thing to happen to me. like this is like my back being taken, my arms being pinned down, and my calves being sliced.
Right. And it's like the worst thing that could possibly happen to him in the part of MMA that is his strong point.
Yeah. Like, you're a grappler? Okay.
Okay.
Grapple yourself out of this.
Yeah, figure that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to Derek. Great career, though.
Pretty good, yeah.
It was the craziest thing to me in that fight, though, was before the fight was over, before they threw in the towel. Like, the fight was still going on. He was still taking damage at points, and he just stretched back and put his hands behind his head. Like, you were laying down, and you were so tired.
Yeah. And, it was the nice tempo change, like on the ground when he was doing ground and pound was nice, because like he was doing kind of short little shots, but then he loaded up on like 3 really big ones at the end to cause the towel to come in. Yeah. So it was pretty nice ground and pound, actually. Like, those shots are pretty nasty on the ground, and like for how tired he is, like I said, he throws with power still. Yeah. It's not like his like power is affected by his cardio issues. It just seems like well, I guess he's built his game around being tired, right? And knowing how to expend his energy in the state he's in. So, and
honestly, probably the fact that he gets if that is a thing, his opponent probably starts getting careless too. Like,
right?
Oh, this dude's exhausted.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm exhausted. Right. I'm gonna punch you in the face real hard.
Did you watch his Till fight when he fought Derek Till?
I probably did, but I can't.
It's like Darren Till got taken down by like 6 times, and like then choked out instantly in like the 3rd round. Yeah, I think it's 3rd round.
Darren Till, what a fall.
He just got released, by the way. That's an interview.
He requested it.
Yeah. It wasn't like a unceremonious release from the UFC, but.
All right, so the headliner for the prelims was Cody Garbrandt versus Trevin Jones. Cody won a unanimous decision, as he should have. I don't think he was ever. I can't remember him ever being in any real danger.
Well, the 3rd round was a little shaky. I don't know if you remember that, but he got touched. His chin got touched, and he seemed like he had like PTSD flashbacks. It was like he was like just like in his own head about his taking a punch.
Yeah, well, that's when I was like pulling up to Brian's, because then I was also watching a fight in the car. That's probably not good either.
Better than the shower, right?
Definitely better than the shower,
right?
Just for my street cred.
Yeah, you don't want any rumors to float around about you.
Yeah. What I did like about this, from what I did pay attention to, was his footwork looked good.
Yeah, he looked fast.
He looked fast. He was definitely, as you said before we started, more timid.
Right.
But he needs to find that in between, because before he wasn't. He needed to be more timid. Now maybe he went a little too far.
Yeah. Well, I feel like confidence too in the fight game is a big issue. Like, having the confidence to implement a game plan and to see a certain style through a fight. Like, he was great at his wrestling, looked really good. His takedowns and his reactionary takedowns, the striking exchanges, he level change. He had 2 really good takedowns off of that. His ground control wasn't that great, but like, I think Trevin Jones is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a pretty big guy. And like, Cody's pretty small for bantamweight. And like, it's only really noticeable now. Like, it's like, I feel like bantamweights have gotten a lot bigger, you know? Like, I feel like he just looks really small in there and not very muscular, which isn't. It
seems like a lot of the bantamweights are actually like becoming like pretty fucking tall.
Yeah, it's like Corey Sandhagen is huge compared to Cody. Yeah. Sean O'Malley is huge.
Yeah, Sugar.
Yeah. And like, even like Peter Yan looks muscly and thick and dense in ways that Cody has never been. So like, building his game around a wrestling heavy game plan, it's smart for his career, and sort of extending it and getting back,
especially because that's what his original background is.
Yeah, he was like a state wrestler for Ohio.
Yeah, but
I don't know about his ability to implement that game plan on somebody better than Trevin Jones.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, whenever you fight Merab Davishwali, you know, it's like, are you going to take him down and grind him out?
No.
Yeah, you're just
not. I think that guy's probably about to beat Peter Yan.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But like, something like that, it's like, so what do you do with Cody at this point? It's like, well, do you give him somebody like another easy layup? Because he was going to fight Ronnie Yaya, who is like a BJJ guy, which is never won by knockout ever. And it's like, you can't just feed him to guys with no power punching, like just to save his chin or whatever. You know, eventually it's like you have to do something with your career at this point.
Yeah. Well, truthfully, maybe the best thing for Cody Garbrandt, but it hasn't proven effective in recent years, is maybe another promotion.
Yeah.
For your career.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see him building his way back up.
No. And I feel like the game has passed him by.
Which is crazy because it happened after like one fight.
Yeah. Well, you think about the landscape of MMA back whenever he won the title against Dominic, even when he lost the title to TJ Dillashaw. Excuse me. But it's like that landscape 6 years ago is a long time.
Yeah.
For the development of like MMA and athletes coming up.
But
like
it's just so crazy because he looked like the best in history against Dominic Cruz. Like it was unbelievable.
But like you think about too that his training camp, Team Alpha Male, have been fighting Dominic Cruz for how long at that point? There's game plans against Dominic Cruz and like that sort of formulation of game plans against him. It's like it took Cody Garbrandt to actually carry that out because Uriah Faber couldn't do it.
Right.
Benavidez couldn't do it. So it's like, there's things. It's like, well, it was a perfect storm. It was like his athletic gifts, his talent, and a good training camp and a good camp that prepared him for Dominic Cruz pretty well.
At that speed.
Yeah. And like that is about as far as his career has taken him. It's like that win is like the highlight of his career, and that was 7 years ago.
Because it was all downhill after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a whole litany of issues from like matchmaking, from his fight IQ to his talent, his chin. There's all these sort of things to talk about with Cody, and it's hard to really get into it because I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
He seemed very sad all week before the fight and like even after. It's like he kind of knew.
Well, it's probably the first time he's been on the undercard, like the prelims. You know what I mean?
Right. And like I think he kind of knows his limitations in the same way that like Overeem probably knew I need to reinvent myself.
Yeah.
And not be who I was fight wise. And like it's a sad realization that like the fight he wants to fight all the time, he can't do it. It's just he's skilled enough to like land punches.
And at the weight class that he's at, because like at heavyweight, that was a much easier thing for Alistair Overeem to do.
Yeah, because there's skill gaps.
Yeah,
Overeem still was pretty crafty.
Yeah,
big, strong, great grappler.
Right,
and like Cody is just like so you are very handicapped in terms of one fight area. You can't stand and bang in the way that you used to, and it's like, well, what do you do from there?
Yeah,
and I guess it's up to his coaches. He's with new coaches now. He's with Dewey Cooper, who I think worked with. He worked with Kevin Lee, So, but he's good. He's a good trainer. Kevin Lee is his own thing, but he's a good coach, pretty esteemed coach. So he's worked with other people too. That's the worst case. That's the worst example I could. Kevin Lee, yeah. But still, I feel like he probably needed to go from Team Alpha Male.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's abandoned that ship.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to the main card. And this is the first fight I bet on poorly.
Yeah.
I didn't put much money on it. My biggest thing.
Bet on Jamie Pickett?
Yeah, he was a 900 underdog.
$5, right?
Yeah, I just put a couple bucks on it just because, like, first of all, this guy this was only his fourth fight.
Yeah.
In MMA. Not in the UFC.
No.
In MMA.
He's only had like 6 minutes of cage time.
Yeah, and he's only been even fighting MMA for a year and a half.
Yeah. But
he does have he's a great college wrestler.
Yeah.
Like multi-time national champion.
I get confused about the different levels of college wrestling, to be honest.
Well,
I don't know that well.
I think he's the Division I.
Yeah, champion. I know that, but like when someone talks about like this type of tournament, I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
This passes over me. He's a great wrestler.
But where he's different, as he showed, because he won by submission in the first round very quickly. It was not even really a fight. Most wrestlers, when they transition like that, they don't seem to have that submission jiu-jitsu prowess already like on lock.
Right.
And this guy does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already there. His transitions, everything. It's like, holy shit. And unlike the people we were saying below, where we're like, these guys aren't going to fight on a main card. This guy's first fight in the UFC is on the main card.
Yeah.
And his next fight is probably going to be against a top 15 opponent.
I mean, it's like you can't put him there like that and hype him up like that and have that sort of like the cheers he was getting, the crowd reaction he was getting when he's coming out. You can't have that and not put him in a spot where it's like sink or swim. You can't. And like in middleweight too, it's like
he's being touted as like the great American hope.
Right. And like it's like, so do you give him a top 10 opponent next? 5 fights into it,
right?
Because like Jamie Pickett is not a great fighter.
No,
he's a pretty and like there was things actually I seen about Bo Nickel that like watching it, I'm like, okay, that could be done better. Just like I'm not saying like his performance wasn't good, but like he shot like he threw that goofy kick and he's done it twice now where he threw a goofy kick and fell. Yeah. It's like, okay, don't do that.
Right. Stop that kick.
Yeah, you'll learn that fast. So it's like, yeah, he probably knows that now. But also, too, the way he was working for that takedown, it's like he seemed like he was exerting a lot of energy to get it, which is understandable. He wants to take down. But, like, against somebody who doesn't come as easily, how well is that sort of force going to be met with? And, like, how good does this game get beyond that first layer? You know what I mean?
Right. And if he has somebody who's good at controlling the distance and keeping you away from him, how easy is it going to be for you to get the takedown if your striking is lacking? Because we have no idea what his striking really looks like.
Right. And also, like, the way he shot out was, like, kind of from a distance that, like, worked on him, but was kind of, not as close and as fluid as, you want to... It's like he's a prospect. It's hard to really come down on him too hard because he only has so many fights ever. So,
again, only in MMA for a year and a half.
Right. So, like, who do you... we'll get into that whenever we do matchmaking, but, like, just, like... It's like either going to be too fast or all the hype and all the is going to be justified about him, and it's like you have to. It's like same thing with Hamzat we were talking about 3 years ago with Hamzat almost. It's like, well, what do you do with him now? He looks so good, okay, but do you rush him along or do you slow burn? You can't feed him cans forever.
Right.
He just beat number probably 30, Jamie Pickett. Yeah. So, like, do you give him a top 20 now? And then it's like, well, he crushes that guy. Now it just looks like the UFC is feeding him warm bodies to beat up.
Right.
So, what do you do?
Yeah. I think somewhere in the top 15. Because, right now you can almost think of him as like a Damian Maia, except I think he's going to be better at taking people to the ground than Damian Maia.
He has to be.
Right. You can't be worse.
Yeah. Damian Maia actually... was pretty okay. His trips were pretty good. His out and out wrestling was pretty.
Yeah, he had a hard time getting people to the ground. Yeah, especially towards the end.
He just wasn't very athletic.
No,
he was a great. He's just a great martial artist, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
So this fight is the only fight that I didn't really watch. Like, it was on the TV. I didn't. When I looked at the stats, I didn't rewatch it. It was just pretty clear he did land more strikes and he had 4 takedowns.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it was just pretty clear. And I remember during the fight that it wasn't, exciting.
But he got dropped a few times and, got really lit up.
Yeah.
And for Jalen Turner, he's 6'4" or something like that. He's very tall. It's hard to be...
That's crazy for lightweight.
Yeah, it's hard to be a great wrestler in a division full of great wrestlers and counteract wrestling when you're that tall and your waist is that little.
Right.
Seriously, I'm not, not even being cheeky or funny about it, but whenever you're that small,
your center of gravity is just not awful. In your favor.
Right. And you compare that to someone like Volk who moved up and he's little and he's strong and little. And it's harder to get in on people like that and control their legs, so it's he's a victim. It's his success is because of his frame in a lot of instances where he fights long and can keep it standing, but when you can't, it's well, your frame is not doing you any favors getting the wrestling off of you. So
yeah.
But Jalen Turner he's 27, so
yeah, he's got time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, before we move on from this, we should say Gamrot
won by
decision.
Yeah.
Split, so it was close. But unfortunately, I got to piss real quick. I'm going to do a clap here. All right, and we're back. Sorry for that. I'm out of practice. Not that I've never peed on a podcast before, but usually there's not just 2 of us here.
Right.
So I can just go and things just kind of continue on.
I could have talked by myself, but...
Yeah, honestly, I believe that.
Yeah, but it'd be really weird. And I would get in my own head about it during the course of...
Start answering your own questions.
Yeah.
So the next fight was Jeff Neal versus... I don't know how to say his first name, but...
Shavkat?
Shavkat.
Yeah.
What a great name.
Yeah.
Shavkat.
It's not Dricus Duplessis, but...
I think it's better.
Depends on your flavor of names.
Shavkat?
Right? Yeah.
It sounds like somebody's nickname at a rave.
Yeah. During this fight, by the way, my girlfriend had said... she said, poor Neil Magny. And I'm like, that's a different person.
Which oddly enough, though, isn't that the last person that...
Yeah. I'm like, Jeff Neil Magny is his name now. Just combine them. And I'm like, that's racist of you to say that.
Right,
that's racist. Yeah.
He won by submission. Shavkat won by submission in
bouncer choke
in the third round.
Bouncer choke in the third round.
For sure, bouncer choke. They're labeling it as a rear naked, but I've never seen somebody rear naked somebody from the side.
Yeah, it's literally just a bouncer choke.
Yeah, he was literally. They were standing. Both of their backs were to the cage, and Shavkat was on. I'm never calling him anything but Shavkat.
Yeah, that's
fine.
By
the way, but he was on the side of him, but got his arm wrapped around him and choked him out.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and like Jeff Neal probably didn't expect that.
I don't think anybody.
Because like positionally, how often are you drilling bouncer chokes in the gym? It's like you don't know that's coming because it's like no one does that.
What people do, this dude isn't talked about enough. I don't think. By the way, first of all, Jeff Neal is great. He missed weight. He had some good boxing moments in the fight.
He tagged him a lot.
Yeah, he definitely did.
And like. He probably shouldn't rely on his chin going forward as much as he did, but there's not a lot of people that can do that to him like Jeff Neal did it to him. As far as power punchers at like welterweight, Jeff Neal's busted up Vicente Luque, who's a great striker.
Yeah,
so like
and he just doesn't have a lot of power on everything.
Right. Also, close the Marc-Andre Barrios tab, please. That's been bothering me for about 10 minutes. Just saying.
Can't take it.
Yeah, please. He shouldn't have any more space on this podcast than we've already given him.
But he did great.
Yeah, he did. Just have his picture up while we talk about the fights.
And of course, this isn't going to load now. But the thing that I can't remember the Shavkat's record. But
no, it's 17-0, all 17 finishes.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. They're all finishes.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, some people are just bored to like prime Carlos Condit. It's like dude just was like finishing people. He had like 29 out of 30 finishes.
Yeah,
and that's an excellent sort of asterisk.
And I think this guy might be Mongolian.
Yeah,
in descent, you know. But he looked good on the feet. Good grappler, obviously.
Yeah, like Neal was hard to take down. The weight advantage that Neal had maybe played into the fact that he was a little bit harder to take down. But also, it seemed like Neal did a lot of his homework in terms of like preparing for the grappling. So yeah, to his credit.
There was part of me that thought was part of that homework, like, hey, I'm going to come in overweight.
Right. Which, I mean, you want to win the fight, so strategically, is it better to give yourself 5 pounds against a grappler or whatever?
Right.
Maybe.
Especially somebody who's finishing everybody.
Right.
I was one of the people not paying enough attention to this guy. But this guy's dangerous.
It's going to be hard to book him. Well, who wants to fight him?
Who wants to fight him? To me, he's got to be scary. I mean, Hamzat is still scary.
Yeah.
Because the guy's freakishly strong. But I think this guy's scarier.
Yeah, because he doesn't say anything.
Right.
Hamzat's kind of like, it's like there's too much footage of him hanging out with Darren Till laughing. You know what I mean? Like there's too much of that floating around now to be that. Obviously, you should be afraid of his skill set, but like a silent killer who doesn't say anything and wants to fight the best, and actually, like Hamzat, it's weird how his careers went because it's like so burning hot, and then it's like huge gaps where there's nothing talked about him, and it's like whispers of a fight booked. And
that's the biggest thing. He doesn't fight enough,
right?
And I feel like his last fight was Gilbert, right?
No, he choked out Kevin Holland real fast.
That's honestly a step back. Like after it should have been gangbusters after Gilbert Burns,
right?
You know what I mean? He should have been fighting Colby Covington or somebody of that stature. Like I just don't understand.
Yeah, it was like too fast, and it's like, well, now it's hard to book you.
And he also missed weight. I don't even know. He's
like 178 or something like that.
Yeah, he might be going to middleweight.
I think he is going to middleweight. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's like
but it kind of sucks because I would love to see him and Shavkat.
He might beat him. He might beat Hamzat.
Right. I think that's the scariest matchup to me for him.
Because looking at their striking, grappling is probably gonna be a wash. I don't see Hamzat throwing him around.
No,
and striking wise, they both have bad defense, but he seems a lot more dynamic in his strikes. His kicks are a lot better. It seems like Hamzat's very blocky puncher. That's it.
Right.
Which I mean,
there's a lot of power in it, but it's not. There's no real form or
finesse. Yeah.
Clean technique. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very straight punches and wide hooks.
Yeah.
And very rudimentary striking that serves him well because it's no, he could usually take down most people.
Right.
But it's like that's a bad matchup for Khamzat, but they might not even fight because Khamzat's probably going to 185. But
they probably won't. That's why I'm saying it's sad because I think I would have liked to have seen that. But I'm excited to see Shavkat fight again.
And like Jeff Neal could stick around and have fun fights too. Like
I've got no problem with Jeff Neal. Yeah, I think it's just clear that Jeff Neal isn't going up the ladder at this point.
No, but the ladder itself, it's like the people up there probably shouldn't be up there anymore, anyways. Like you think about it.
But at the same time, but who's coming up that's going to beat them? Besides like Shavkat,
and we've always talked about how like the upper trajectory of fighters is hard to parse through because it's like, well, people don't fight backwards far enough. They don't. And it's like someone they like rank squat, their rankings, and they don't fight enough to like Colby. Is he even the best? Is he top 5? He's like number 1 or 2.
Right.
And like look at his wins are terrible. They've all aged like milk. His last win was like Masvidal. Yeah. And like that's not a good win.
I mean, he pretty much beats everybody but Usman.
But we don't know that. It's all even.
That's true because he hasn't fought Marvin Vettori.
Well, no, I mean, welterweight.
Oh yeah,
Colby. Yeah. He hasn't fought Burns.
He hasn't fought. Did he fight Leon Edwards?
No.
He hasn't fought anybody.
Well, I mean, if you look at the rankings, eventually it's like there's a lot. It's like he has no good wins in the top 5 even anymore. Yeah, because like it's all aged out. It's like his last 2 wins are Masvidal and Woodley.
And his biggest thing really is his pressure and his nonstop cardio.
Right. Yeah, we'll talk about matchmaking and rankings in a second.
So,
all right.
But everybody, keep an eye on Shavkat. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Next, this is the fight I did win money on.
Yeah.
So Valentina Shevchenko, up until this point, definitely considered one of the GOATs of women MMA versus Alexa Grasso. And she lost by submission in the 4th round. And I felt like I was being... Because I bet on Grasso.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought she was going to lose. The only reason I bet on her is because the streaks end. Yeah. They do.
And I was talking before the fight, like Valentina's 35 and has been on top of the division for a while.
Yeah, a long time.
And like it's like that's hard to maintain. And like I'm not saying there's no excuses like for a loss. It's like a loss or loss, but like how motivated are you? How well do you train? Are you still firing on all cylinders and athletically like you used to?
Right. Are you even still as driven?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And these are all questions.
You've been dominating people for so long.
Right.
The people said that there was some chinks in her armor in the last fight. I don't really remember.
It was Talia Santos. Remember? It was a close fight. Well, she... I mean, I think I remember seeing a clips, because I haven't watched that fight since it happened.
Right. It was a while ago.
Yeah, I haven't lost any bets that makes me watch women's MMA outside of the initial viewing. Right. So, but I remember seeing clips of her going probably like 4 times, and it's like the most women's MMA... The head and arm throw that doesn't exist in men's MMA, but is a staple of women's MMA. She went for it like 4 times and ended up with Talia Santos on top
of her.
yeah, a bunch of times. Like so many times, I'm like, is this a comedy bit they're doing, or is this a routine they have, or it's like, all right, I'm gonna go through it and you land on top of me, because. But she did that to her too. And I was like, "Oh, head and arm throw."
Yeah, you're not gonna give it up.
No.
But Alexa Grasso looked good, really, in every
pocket.
Aspect.
Yeah,
what I mean?
Her takedown offense, the first layer of it was pretty shaky. But Valentina is a great grappler when she needs to grapple. She's very strong, very fast, even at being 35.
Freakishly strong for her,
right?
Her size.
And you look at her size, and Alexa Grasso doesn't look really built to grapple in those exchanges in the way that like Valentina is, or even like Tatiana Suarez. Yeah. Where it's like she's not really a grappler. She's learned grappling, and obviously she got the win by rear naked choke, so she has it in her pocket. But she's not stopping on takedowns by you know.
And I'll tell you what, her strength must be pretty good too, because she was not on the neck; she was on the chin. And actually the craziest thing was when she did let go of it, there was like a stripe on Shevchenko's face. Like on Shevchenko's face from the pressure that was being applied on her face.
Yeah.
So her grip must be great.
Freakishly strong, yeah.
I don't even think we got to go crazy and wait for the matchmaking on this one. It's going to be a rematch.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see it because, man.
She was tagging her in the pocket. I was surprised. I was like, this is a fight. It's like, I guess every booking against Valentina, you're like, she's going to steamroll that woman. That's literally what you think.
You kind of think, especially on the feet.
Yeah.
With her kicks and everything else, but
like, I mean, it's weird because she's a great striker, but then it's like, Alexa had said during an interview that she had trained to take her back when she missed that spinning back kick. That they trained that.
Yeah.
So she did that, and it's like, and then you think about like,
I'm surprised people don't leap on people more when they miss spinning stuff. It's really weird to me, actually.
Yeah, but I guess the reaction time and like the way your body responds, like there's gaps. It's like you have to really train that, like she said.
Yeah.
But like Valentina spinning, like doing spinning back kicks with her back against the fence, it's like, she's a great striker, but like, like not every great striker still has things they need to work on and things they do wrong, and like it's to her credit she took advantage of that.
Yeah.
And like that's not said enough. It's like kind of, it's not fluky, but also it's like a low percentage chance that you're gonna find that choke taking someone's back instantly. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like she did it, and like she just wasn't sharp all the minutes she needed to be sharp in every instance in every frame of the fight. So
yeah,
that's the fight game.
And it could be, like you said, with the age, it could be the start of the decline, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which would be unfortunate. I feel like in a lot of ways, women's MMA has hurt itself by not fighting each other. Like, I don't care. Her and Nunez should have fought each other again before the Pena fight, or after she won. Nunez came back and won the Pena fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The second time around. And also, Kayla Harrison from PFL. Like, she should have taken the big UFC contract and fought. Like, she got paid $500,000 in her last fight. I can pretty much guarantee if she would have signed and fought Amanda Nunez, she would have made over $1 million.
Probably, yeah. And obviously her career and her financial decisions are, whatever she makes it out to be at that point in time, and whatever you gauge, and it's like what you care about more is like, well, this guaranteed paycheck against these people that are lesser. It's like, which they are, and she lost Larissa.
That's what I'm saying. And now that she's lost, like now that fight with Nunez is never going to be there.
Yeah, because like you lost. It's not even like you lost to somebody people know.
Right. And the truth is, not only is that Nunez fight never going to be there, but more than likely now Dana White's never going to offer you a contract. Period.
Right, and like you lost to a girl you already beat. That's even worse.
Right.
That nobody knows. So
yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, that'll be a rematch, so we're not worried about that. Great win for Grasso. It was exciting if you were watching the fight, because it just seemed unbelievable, and it was very exciting for me because I won $30.
Did you cash it out yet?
Oh yeah.
How does that work? Does that come to you fast? Does that automatically transfer?
It's like a day.
That's not bad. Is it go right to your bank account?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Now
this is a long fight
for the main event. Now there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
So Ciryl Gane versus John Jones for the vacant heavyweight title. John Jones wins in the first. It didn't take long. Not much happened. He got a awkward guillotine choke against the fence, a la
after a back takedown from the back,
a la Lyoto Machida.
Yeah,
it was kind of the same, except they were standing for Machida. That is who it was, right? Machida.
Yeah,
that he did that too. Yeah. As soon as he was in that position, I was like, people were like, "Oh no, he doesn't have it." I'm like, he's choking him out. Like, I remember this. I saw it happen before. He's got this weird ability with his arms to like choke people out in weird positions.
Yeah, his long arms, and is able to get that torque on his arms in that angle.
Yeah. Now, a couple things I want to say about it. I guess first of all, the tape thing at the beginning was weird. I was like, "Great, is his foot broken?"
He's always taped his toes. I know that.
Right, but like he had the foot taped as well.
Yeah, they cut it off.
And they cut it off. Yeah. But to me, one of the big takeaways is, to be honest, I don't even think Jones really looked that good.
No, he did the actions and the few actions he needed to do to win the fight quickly. Like it's like takedown, choke. Okay.
Yeah.
And like that's to his credit. And it's like, well, like we had talked about before, it's like, well, there's a few different angles to look at that. It's like Jones's performance, Cyril's performance, and those performances in relation to the rest of the division, and how well those performances carry over to other fighters, and like whether or not that would work. And like Jones on the feet is still a question mark. Jones's chin at heavyweight is still a question mark. His kicking and punching ability is still a question mark.
His grappling is still a question mark.
Yeah, and it's like because Cyril's grappling was a question mark. He's not fought a wrestler.
Yeah.
He's not fought anyone who wrestled.
He does have submissions, but he like you said, he hasn't fought a wrestler.
He submitted the great Dontel Mays. So
that's great.
Yeah.
It's actually his nickname.
Yeah. Maybe.
But the actually the young dude Gary, his nickname is what, the Future?
Machado, is that?
Yeah, I think it's the Future. It's pretty good. Anyway. Yeah. But anyway, Jon Jones, and honestly, even when he implemented his game plan, he did the takedown. The beginning of the takedown did not actually look good.
No, but Cyril just didn't know what to do with his body.
Yeah, what was crazy to me is it looked like Jones didn't know what to do with his body.
Yeah,
because like
they're both winging it.
Yeah, when he first took him down, Jones' body was really stretched out, and he was like reaching for Cyril's arm underneath, and I'm like, why is he so stretched out? Why doesn't he scoot his knees in? And then of course he eventually did scoot his knees in, start climbing him, and it ended how it ended. But
yeah, I thought Cyril was going to get back to his feet.
Yeah,
whenever he was against the cage to the side. Mm-hmm. But I'd seen Henry Cejudo actually going through with Jones that position in the way that Jones did. What Henry Cejudo did was did what he said was, instead of keep him to the side like that, instead of staying in that angle too long from the side, come around and scoop him up from there, which he did. He came around from the side to the front and changed that takedown in that angle and got the takedown. And it's like, how much can Cyril really improve his wrestling? And it's like Cyril strikes me as a guy who probably likes fighting enough, but do you really want to be taken on by wrestlers for a full year?
Right.
Do you want to do that? Because that sucks. It sucks to get beat up by wrestlers for a full year to get better at it. You know?
Well, and the truth is, at heavyweight, outside of the only
blades.
I mean changing your strength.
Yeah.
At heavyweight, the only two people I can really think who really fully improved on their weakness was maybe Alistar Overeem, who was never really a weakness. He just stopped using it.
Yeah.
And then Verdum.
Yeah.
Who we talked about before the show.
He got great at Muay Thai.
Yeah, he got really good at his striking game, which was a massive hole at the beginning of his career. And that leads me to the fact that even though I don't think Jones looked good, I still think he probably runs through everybody. His fight IQ is too high. He's too well-rounded. Even if his striking doesn't look good, even if his wrestling doesn't look great, even if whatever, his fight IQ is so high, and he is pretty damn good at all of it.
Yeah.
And he does not give a shit about the spotlight.
No. And I feel like also his defense is really good. He doesn't get hit cleanly as often as, people want him to be hit cleanly.
I will say that's the other thing. When the brief period they were on the feet, he also looked really slow.
Yeah, I saw all that ass. Really slow. See his ass?
Yeah, yeah. Ass and belly.
I watched this fight in the shower, and I'm just saying that stuck out to me for the full duration of my shower. But quick shower, by the way. It's only like 2-minute fight. But he just is big. I mean, he's a big guy, and I didn't think he looked great at the weigh-ins. And obviously, your weight has to be functional. Your muscle isn't going to do much for you if you can't wrestle. Cyril looks like sculpted. You know what I mean? But if you can't wrestle, you can't wrestle. And if you can wrestle, you can wrestle. Even if you do have a belly on you now.
Right.
So it's whatever.
And your technique and IQ just means so much.
Right. And who I think would be a great test for Jones, and this is all sort of hypothetical because I don't know how long Jon Jones is going to fight at heavyweight. I feel like he beats Stipe and just probably retires.
Stipe maybe one more if there's a fight that.
But who though?
That's what I'm saying. Somebody would actually have to build a name that's worth him fighting.
He'd be in the same position as he was at heavyweight, fighting people like Anthony Smith. It's what does that do for your legacy? If he fought Curtis Blades, what does that do? Unless he wants to break the heavyweight defense record, which could be possible. He could want to break that just to solidify himself as the greatest heavyweight of all time. It's only 4 defenses.
Yeah.
So that's maybe 3 more years, 2 more years, 3 more years, 4 more, 2 more years, 3 more years. Depends on how often he fights.
But in truth, he already has to be considered the GOAT. So
right. But I'm talking about heavyweight.
Right.
Stipe is the heavyweight GOAT of UFC. and I won't get into like
right.
Fedor or whatever because that's a different conversation. But like he has the most heavyweight defense records in the UFC, Stipe. So if he beats that, it's like well he's also the greatest heavyweight of all time now in the UFC.
Right.
And then probably the greatest fighter ever, easily the greatest fighter ever.
Yeah, I mean he already has to be considered the greatest fighter ever because he's undefeated and his roster.
Yeah.
The people he beat, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, Khabib, I think, retired undefeated, but his roster wasn't nearly what his was. I mean, he beat the legends, he beat the up-and-comers, he beat...
his peers.
Yeah, at one point in time, I mean, light heavyweight had all the big stars.
Yeah.
And he beat all the big stars that were there.
Yeah. Well, he sort of... I'm not diminishing him at all, but like when you look at like the history of MMA, and it's like, how undersized was Machida at 205? How
right.
He went down to 185. Machida's a great win. These are all great wins. These are all excellent wins. But like just like those guys would probably be middleweights right now. Mm-hmm. When you look at somebody like Yuri Prochazka, how big he is, he could never be a middleweight.
Blachowicz.
Yeah, they'd never be middleweights. I'm not saying that John Jones wouldn't beat those guys either, but like whenever you beat like Vitor Belfort, it's like he's 185er, and then like
Chael Sonnen 185er.
Right, and like these are all.
Thiago Santos, 185er.
Yeah. And like like I said, this is not... It's all timing and it's all the angle by which you look at time periods and matchups, and like the timeline of MMA always will be, in hindsight, this. In hindsight, that. And like that's... it's like sort of petty to like parse through because all you have is like facts. 17-0 in title fights. Undefeated.
Yeah.
To a multi-weight champion. So...
Right.
What are you going to do with that resume? Nothing. Say he's the GOAT,
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything else you can say.
Because you could parse through everybody's resume. Like, Dan Hardy, was he a great one for GSP? No. But he beat him.
Yeah.
He did what he needed to do to him.
And actually, the most exciting thing about that fight was the fact that Dan Hardy wouldn't submit.
Right. And like, but like, or like, it's like Fedor's win resume. It's like, yeah, he beat this guy, Hongman Choi.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So
he beat some good guys too, but he beat a lot of like nobodies.
Right. So like you could do every fighter that's good. Anderson Silva beat, Patrick Cote. And it's like, okay.
To me, the conversation between GOAT, I think it's now obviously Jones, which I hate because I'm not a Jones fan. But
GSP is up there.
To me, it was always between him and Silva. I think GSP is also up there. The knock against Anderson Silva is always like, well, who did he fight? But I like when I go back and look at I would look at GSP's today, and I was like, it's not like GSP's is like crazy impressive.
Yeah, well, GSP has a good case because he avenged all his losses and retired on top. So all the people he lost to, he beat. Yeah. So he doesn't really have any losses that are hanging in that unbalanced. You know what I mean? The way like. When Silva stuck around too long.
Yeah, and Silva didn't have losses until he stuck around too long.
He did have losses. He didn't. He got heel hooked in Pride or whatever.
Right. Yeah, but he was never going to fight that guy again.
Well,
he
could.
He could have.
Yeah. Bring him over.
Yeah.
Let's see
the Chris Weidman is the only the first Chris Weidman is the only one where I'm like, okay, like that loss was like a bad. Yeah. But when you look at like finishes and everything like that, like Anderson Silva did what he was supposed to do. He finished all those guys. You know what I mean? It was very rare.
Besides Damian Maia.
Right. But it was very rare he didn't. And he probably should have finished Damian Maia. I'm not sure what the fuck was happening in that fight. Either. That was the weirdest fucking fight.
Yeah.
But I'm also an Anderson Silva mark, so what can I do?
Yeah, those three are always, Silva, GSP, and Jones, with Jones on top now.
Yeah.
And GSP and Silva could be argued semantically.
Yeah.
Forever,
Right. Yeah. Nobody's ever going to win the argument.
Right.
Like if you like the other guy, you're never going to give up because there's not enough evidence the other way. To me, it's the finishes because GSP was like a decision machine.
Yeah. But he was also multi-weight champion too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what the funniest multi-weight
that was like the only way that could have happened.
Yeah.
Like Michael Bisping with one eye won the championship and then fought GSP.
Oh, you mean like a 11-1 kickboxer who has no ground game?
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
True. But also Cyril Gane's young and in his prime.
Yeah.
Michael Bisping was not and had one eye.
Yeah. The funniest multi-weight champion is Amanda Nunes, who's just like, all right, you're the 145-pound champion now too. And it's like, oh, wait, the division is just a bunch of 135ers that don't want to make weight.
Right,
and it's like
right, and there's 3 of them.
Yeah, she's also the 155-pound and the 165-pound champion.
Right? Why not?
Yeah. There's like vacant divisions with multiple belts. Okay.
Yeah, all you had to do was just say she beat Cyborg.
Yeah,
we didn't need a belt.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like that's the funniest one. It's like, is that really the one? Is that really a multi-weight champion?
Right. All right, so we'll go through this real quick. One thing I should do here is pull up
the rankings. Yeah, we'll go. We can matchmake pretty fast.
Yeah, we can matchmake pretty fast, and then we'll go through because some of them
for next week.
Preview for next week. Yeah. So we'll let that load up. We'll start here because for Jones, it's obviously Stipe.
Yeah, that's a good fight. Stipe is actually pretty old right now. Hasn't fought in forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, the problem one is probably, of course, I don't know.
You know who I think is a big threat to Jones? He probably would never fight him. Just the stature probably isn't there in terms of that name. Tom Aspinall, dude.
Tom Aspinall. Goes back?
Yeah.
I think Tom Aspinall is going to be the heavyweight champion.
Yeah. Dude, he's a legitimate black belt. He's huge and has great striking.
Great boxing, dude.
Yeah, it's like he's fast.
I was so bummed when he got injured, dude. Because I was like, this is his next champ.
Yeah, he's great. And like in the black belt thing, and like his wrestling may not be great, but he tapped out Volkov pretty fast. He took him down and tapped him out. That's impressive,
What was impressive about it is how quick it was.
Right.
He leapt on it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like, oh, maybe I can get this. He knew exactly what to do and he executed it lightning quick.
Right. So yeah, but I mean, that's further down the road.
Yeah. But, but then Cyril Gane, I can't get the rankings to pop up because I don't know. The UFC's website is messed up.
We know who's there.
Yeah, Cyril Gane.
I'd say probably the loser of Blades and Pavlovich, who fights, I believe in.
Oh, is he fighting Pavlovich?
Yeah,
I'm scared of Pavlovich too.
Yeah, Pavlovich is huge. He's a Sambo guy, and he's like the white Nagano.
Dude,
seriously,
so hard.
He throws hammers.
But his striking is better than Ngannou's, like technique wise.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like some
Ngannou's
of those
scarier. But
some of those hammers he's throwing are like just straights.
And he has long arms, dude. They're so long.
He's kind of terrifying.
Yeah,
I would be nervous about him for Jones.
But like, why would he fight them? It's like fighting Dominic Reyes at light heavyweight. It's like, okay, this guy is good, but no one knows who he is yet.
Right. But if Pavlovich runs through Blades
is a hard fight for John Jones too, I think. Just because like Blades is huge and like his striking is a lot better.
It is a lot better.
Yeah, and like his wrestling is obviously good and he's huge.
Yeah.
Like I don't think John Jones has probably not taken down Blades.
Yeah, I don't know because nobody ever tries to take down Blades. They just try to avoid the takedown. So I don't know if I can necessarily say he doesn't. Because the thing about Jones is he's going to be crafty. It's going to be trips. Like these heavier guys, he's gonna get underhooks, get a trip, call it a day.
Right. But like it's like thinking about just skill set. It's like, I mean, Dominic Reyes probably is better than Cyril Gane as far as like wrestling goes. Like like the difficulties of like taking down light heavyweights that John Jones had. It's probably like a skill level thing. Like John Jones has always been great at wrestling, and like he's bigger now, but the guys are bigger. But the heavyweights are probably less skilled at wrestling and less skilled in general than light heavyweights.
Yeah.
So like someone like Dominic Reyes is hard to hold down and keep down. He's just a talented big guy too at light heavyweight, and like he has his pitfalls too with his career afterwards. But like during that fight, John Jones couldn't keep Dominic Reyes down.
Yeah,
and like. Because Dominic Reyes probably is better at wrestling than Cyril Gane ever was. Never will be.
Another thing with that, honestly, is Dominic Reyes has a weird body. He has short legs.
Right. So, yeah, he has the Crash Bandicoot going on.
Yeah, so that could be part of it. Honestly, I think having short legs is a massive advantage in wrestling. I said the same thing about Volk versus Islam.
Right. As a short leg man, I'm very hard to take down. So this is true.
Yeah. I just think especially the move where they try to get their legs in between their legs and climb up them. I don't think it works with short leg guys.
It doesn't. No one's ever done that to me.
So I'm saying it's a fact.
Maybe for lack of trying on their part, the general population.
Right.
Someone could maybe do it to me.
Nobody's ever just bum rushed you in Kroger's.
And hooked my legs against the wall in Kroger's. So, thank God. Knock on wood, right?
Right, because, man, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Then our whole theory's thrown out.
Yeah. I'll let you guys know what happens to me.
So the next would be Shevchenko and Grasso, and that's obvious. That's a rematch.
Yep. Shavkat probably should fight Colby.
That's what I think.
He probably beats the shit out of Colby. Let's be honest here.
Beats the shit out of Colby.
Yeah, because Colby can't cardio box and grind against the fence against Shavkat. This isn't happening.
I think the scariest. I think right now Shavkat is actually maybe the scariest guy in the division outside of Kamaru Usman.
Even Usman's like his knees are so bad and he's so old now.
Right.
How long is he gonna fight?
Right, but I mean, he still looked. I mean, in that Leon Edwards fight, he still looked incredible. He just got caught with that kick. I mean, he looked dominant.
Well, Leon did a great job baiting him. He threw that sort of fake to get him to go to that one side, which is good on Leon. But
right, but I mean, it took till the final seconds of the fight.
But that fight was at altitude, so like this cardio, they should never have fights at altitude. By the way, I don't want to see diminished versions of fighters get tired faster.
Right, ever. And if for some reason you are like you just have to because of the market and how much money, whatever, then like have them do their whole camp there.
Yeah, like you're not fighting there unless you go there for a month.
Right.
Before, at least.
Yeah, because it sucks.
Yeah. But Jeff Neal probably could fight the winner of, I would say, maybe not. He already fought Ponzinibbio. Maybe Michelle Pereira, who's fighting soon.
Oh yeah,
that'd be a good fight. Michelle Pereira is fighting Michael Chiesa.
This is frustrating the hell out of me.
They forgot to pay his internet bill, so there's no internet tonight.
I mean, we just had it. Look, it's just the UFC site, man.
Why don't you just go somewhere else?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Go to Sherdog.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
What was that one we used to use back in the day?
ESPN. But, yeah. Michael Chiesa versus Pereira. That fight. The winner of that fight can fight Jeff Neal.
Yeah, I like that. I like Pereira.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting fight.
He has like a 7-fight win streak in the UFC.
A good standing fight. Of course, that's not actually rankings.
The visual rankings right there.
Oh, God. This is why I need somebody else here.
Yeah.
And actually, if I wasn't trying to fix things beforehand, I would have had all this already set up.
Okay, there we go. This site is very
Come on, ESPN.
Yeah.
Francis Ngannou is never fighting in the UFC again.
I guess it's heavyweight in general. So.
Right.
Yeah, we already talked about this fight, so we're looking at welterweight, right?
Yeah. I hate that they have it set up like this.
It's the longest page.
It's so awful.
Yeah. I like the ad on the side, the Amazon ad. Okay. All right, Leon Edwards, Colby comes in. Hamzat not fighting. Burns is fighting Masvidal.
Bilal Muhammad.
But Amosov is actually, he's a great belt. Dude, Amosov is a Bellator team. He's 27-0. That's insane.
That is crazy. And this, of course, has everybody in it, so we can't even really fucking.
All right.
So,
we know who's in the top.
Yeah.
Let's just go through it. All right. So Jeff Neal could fight the winner of
the Pereira, like we said.
Yeah.
And then the next fight was Gamrot
and Jalen Turner. So I'd say Gamrot can maybe fight the loser of Beneil Dariush versus Charles Oliveira.
Is that fight happening?
Yeah, that's in like May.
No shit.
Yeah.
Dude,
so,
there's so many good cards coming up. Like,
no, UFC's dead. UFC's dead. There's no good fighters anymore.
No good fights.
Chuck's gone. Rashad's gone.
Dude, this next like 2 months
is great.
I mean, and it's the entire cards. It's not just the headliners. You know what I mean? It's the entire cards.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Gamrot could fight the loser of that fight. The winner probably fights for the title, I imagine, next.
Yeah.
If Beneil wins.
Yeah.
But I'd still like to see Gamrot versus Oliveira if that happens.
Is Beneil finally going to get a title shot? I love that dude.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not even sure he's really a great fighter, but I love him.
He's a pretty good fighter. Yeah.
I mean, he's good without a doubt. Yeah. I don't know if he's great.
Yeah.
Like, because he gets in these wild exchanges, even though he has good, clean, crisp boxing. He just ends up going nuts. He's good on the ground.
I'd like to see Jalen Turner fight the loser of Fiziev versus Gaethje. That's happening next pay-per-view.
That just sounds crazy to me.
Fiziev versus Gaethje? Or the loser?
Loser fighting him. He just lost to this dude. You're talking about, Fiziev and Gaethje both got to be in the top 5, right?
Fiziev's... I'd say that makes more sense if Fiziev loses, because Gaethje wouldn't take that fight.
Yeah.
But I like to see the striking battle between Fiziev and Jalen Turner. That'd be a great fight.
To be honest, I think because I love Gaethje.
He's getting knocked out probably.
I want Fiziev to win.
Yeah, Fiziev is excellent.
Yeah, he's the Matrix.
Bo Nickel should.
Whoever the fuck.
Yeah.
Just give him.
Fucking
give him somebody.
Jared Cannonier.
Sure, perfect. Actually, I think that's probably a pretty good fight for him.
Yeah,
because I think he'll be able to take him down no problem.
Yeah, and Bo Nickel in his wrestling versus Cannonier and his crystals that he uses for energy, whatever he talks about every interview.
I haven't been paying attention to his
he talks about his energy crystals every time I see him talk. Like, don't talk about that.
Yeah,
that's off-putting to everybody.
Nobody wants to hear about this. But honestly, like, I don't know. I think it'd be better for his career if he fought somebody somewhere around the top 15, top 20. But like you were saying,
actually, you know who'd be a great fight? The loser of Kelvin Gastelum versus Chris Curtis, which is also the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, actually, I like that.
And if Gastelum loses, he probably should just get cut.
Yeah,
So
and only because he'd be great if he would just cut.
Or Bo Nickel versus Andre Muniz, who just fought on the last. He was the main event of the last card because the fight fell through, and he fought not Kyle Dawkins. Yeah, he just lost. He's the one that submitted Jacare and also outgrappled Uriah Hall. Andre Muniz, who just lost. He should fight Bo Nickel. That'd be a great ground battle.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm for that. Jamie Pickett should probably just call it a day.
Yeah.
Go
down. Garbrandt should fight a grappler. Trevin Jones should not fight.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to worry too much about the rest.
Duplessis, actually, he's top 5, so...
Oh, yeah, Duplessis.
The winner of Vettori versus the Leeds would be a great fight for Duplessis. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has to be top 5 now. He has to be knocking on the door. Or Sean Strickland.
Yeah, I like both of those. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I really have high hopes for
the Leeds.
The Leeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebus, I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much good.
All right, let's preview the next card because I gotta go soon.
Yeah,
I have to work tonight.
Let's see if this is gonna come up. If not, we'll look it up on SureDog. Sure, this happens, right? We'll make sure this is all set up beforehand next time.
That's all right.
I'm going to rankings. I'm not even going to events. How about that? So the next card.
All right, that one. Mm-hmm. Jan versus Balashravi? I don't know.
Yeah.
Merab. I'm calling him Merab.
Yep, Merab.
All right. So that's a great fight. The pressure of Merab versus Peter Yan striking and his poise. Merab maybe grinds him out, but this is a tough fight for either guy in terms of stylistically.
Yeah, but I feel like, I mean, I can't remember, but I feel like I've seen Merab fight strikers before, and he just grinds people out.
Yeah, but he stunk up the place against Jose Aldo, and it was the most boring fight I've ever seen in my life. And Jose Aldo also, long in the tooth, not great at, like, Volk did the same thing to Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
Stifled his striking, sort of grinding him out in the same way. I actually
truly think Jose Aldo still could have been elite, but he didn't. He just went away from everything that made him elite, like especially the leg kicks.
Right.
And he would start the fight doing them and be killing people with them, and then just completely stop doing it.
Maybe some of his legs or knees in training.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's a great fight. Kind of a toss-up though, because Peter Yan is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't think he's completing all these takedowns. Like the Peter Yan's sort of deficiencies, I guess, that were very, very obvious, were the back takes from Sterling. It wasn't really the wrestling; it was just positionally getting those back takes that he did in his getting the body triangles that he got locked in. Everything else, like, he's pretty good at takedown defense.
Yeah,
and like that, it's like this is a way different fight than obviously the Sean O'Malley fight. So.
Yeah, way different.
Which he could have won that fight, honestly. That's close as shit.
Yeah, that was close as shit. I'm pretty sure even right after the fight, Sugar thought he lost.
Yeah.
But going back, I do think, going back and watching that fight, I do think Sugar did actually win. But
it's close.
Yeah, but Merab, because I thought Sugar lost too right afterwards. But Merab, I don't know. There's something. He's like a machine. He's like a Habib.
Yeah. Hard to beat.
What's that?
Hard to beat.
Yeah, hard to beat, man. I don't like the fight for Peter Yan, to be honest, but you had to give Merab somebody. He's ranked number 3. So
ballsy too by Peter Yan to take that fight. Very ballsy.
Yeah.
A lot to lose.
Yeah, a lot to lose.
All right.
Because your stock is already going down.
So I think Volkov stuffs the takedowns and wins on the feet against Romanov. Romanov gasses pretty well.
Yeah, Volkov, I just feel like should be better than he is, but he always seems to beat the guys that he's supposed to beat.
Yeah.
So his back tattoo is sick.
Ricardo Ramos, don't care.
Yep, don't really know these guys.
Nurmagomedov's winning.
Right.
All right, don't care about that though.
I think that's gonna pretty much wrap that up.
All right, Carl Williams, very interesting physique. But a Sunshot versus Davey Grant, that's a fun fight.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that it's down all the way down here.
Yeah, like
for a fight night.
Why is Carl Williams, who has no picture, ahead of a Sunshot Davey Grant? That's
right,
weird.
and these people up here who I don't really know, anyway. So, yeah, the next card, really, the top two fights are really all it's about, for the most part. Right.
All right. That's it.
I guess that'll be it. There was some other stuff I wanted to cover. We're not going to get to it.
We can talk about next.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. I want to talk about Francis.
Fighter pay, which kind of ties all in together. But yeah, that'll be it. It'll be a cleaner version next time. Definitely running behind and getting back to the flow of things, but it's awesome to be talking about it. Shake the rust off, right?
Yeah. So,
all right.
We'll see you next week.
Peace. All right.